Right now, though, a story we followed big time this year, and there's an important update. It's concerning the homeless encampments along the Santa Ana riverbed and the trail there, which takes us to a number of cities in Orange County, including Anaheim and Fountain Valley, and, of course, Santa Ana is where these things have been going on.
Hundreds of encampments.
The city of Orange, too.
And so you had all the drug addicts and alcoholics and crazy people, and you had the syringes, you had the threatening behavior, because there are a lot of nice homes that butt up against the Santa Ana riverbed. You know, in a normal world, that would be a beautiful place to live, right? Just outside your development is this beautiful riverbed, and you have a biking and hiking and walking path, but it's been infiltrated for miles and miles. Well, now they claim they're going to do something about it, and we're going to get Orange County Supervisor Todd Spitzer on to talk about what they're doing and what the timing of the action is. Todd, how are you?
I'm good, John. How are you?
We're good. So,
all right. We followed this story, and a couple of months ago, you guys put out the word that you were going to step up enforcement by the sheriff's deputies, right? And you did. You did. We saw the report.
Law enforcement, right? And that's how we got all this information that we can now take back to the court. I mean, I know it's difficult and people get upset, and I've been upset for months, and that's why we decided to put the sheriff's department into the riverbed. And we have made a ton of arrests from people who are engaged in crime, exploiting human beings. You know, it's just intolerable, and it's not right.
When you say exploiting human beings, what kind of crimes are you talking about?
Human trafficking. There's allegations or potential that there may be a car theft ring operating out of there. When you walk through there, there's hundreds of bicycles. I mean, those are obviously stolen bicycles, stealing them for parts and things like that. You know, we've had over 1,000 contacts by the sheriff's department with individuals living in the riverbed, and 910 are refusing any assistance. And the reason that's important is because Judge David Carter has this case in the federal court, and he told us, we can't, remember when we put the rock out there in the dirt because we're trying to do our maintenance on the riverbed? It's a riverbed, for goodness sakes. He said, you can't do any of this unless you can show me that for every person you displace, you have to have a bed. Well, guess what? Of all these people out there, they don't want our help. They don't want our services. And now we can go back to the court and say, why in the world are you making me provide a bed for an individual that's on this riverbed when they don't want our help, okay? The fact is, it's a health hazard. It's a risk to public safety. It's completely destroying people's quality of life that live there. And it's not safe for recreation. And oh, by the way, again, it's a riverbed. And when the rains come and the floods come, that's the place that hundreds of thousands, if not millions of gallons rush through to the ocean to protect our floodplain. So the fact is, they're not getting with the program. They're destroying our quality of life, and it's not going to be Orange County Skid Row. Look at downtown LA. We are not letting this become decades and decades and decades of blight. That happened in Los Angeles. It's not happening here in Orange County.
So now there are signs being put up about hours for parts of the trail?
Yeah, so now, I mean, the bicyclists are going to be a little frustrated because literally you can ride all the way from our county border, which is the East Anaheim. You can ride all the way through Yorba Linda, all the way down to Huntington Beach. But now, because of the homeless, in order for us to control the hours of when it's open, we're going to have gates, and it's going to be open from 6 in the morning to 7 at night.
All right, so now what's going to happen? This takes effect Friday, I guess?
Right, this Friday.
All right, where are the people going to go?
And what happens if they don't leave?
Well, let's break that down. So we've lawfully posted the hours that it can be open, which means you can't camp there overnight. If you're going to be there overnight, you're going to be subject to arrest. We have an ordinance and it's enforceable, and the sheriff's department will handle that. Where are they going to go? We have 400 beds here in Santa Ana, or not beds. We have our homeless courtyard here in Santa Ana. We have the Creamer Shelter in my district. We just opened the armories early, and so we're going to have 100 beds in Fullerton and another 100 beds in Santa Ana. And look, we've got to change these people's behavior because they aren't going to change it on their own. And we've got to set down the ground rules and tell them in no uncertain terms, we're going to try to help you if we can, but if you don't want to help, you are not going to live in a dangerous place called the riverbed. You're not going to live there.
and this begins Friday.
Well, we've moved since we hired CityNet, and they're the ones providing homeless services. Riverbed. We've actually moved over 100 people off the riverbed. But the rest of them have come to us saying they don't want any services or help whatsoever.
And how many of them are left?
Well, there's still, according to our count, we're still in the 400 or 500 people living on the bed. We're counting right now at 400 people living there on any given day.
Right. Now, here's my question. Are you going to do this first and then go to the courts, or are you going to go to the courts first and then do this enforcement?
No, so we're closing the areas that are not currently under court order, and then we're going to enforce no one moving back into those areas. And we're going to move that all up the riverbed from Fountain Valley towards Anaheim. Where Judge Carter has jurisdiction, we can't close that right now because that's under his jurisdiction, but we're going to enforce that area, and then we're going to go back to him and explain to him that we are going to close the rest of the riverbed under these circumstances.
Tell us who Judge Carter is, because we don't know what that part of the story is.
Yeah, so Dave, when we got sued not too long ago by the ACLU and others living out there, and others living out there, ACLU on behalf of some of the residents out there, people living out there, they went to federal court, and the case was assigned to Judge David Carter. He's been around a long time, used to be a Superior Court judge. Really just an excellent guy. He actually married me and my wife. And so I know him personally, but he's a very, very good magistrate, but he's very concerned about how we handle this. He has jurisdiction over an area of the riverbed, which is probably the most seen from the 57 freeway, right immediately adjacent to Honda Center and Anaheim Stadium. And so we have to work with him to get him to agree and understand what we're trying to do and how we're trying to move people off the riverbed and the reasons why. And then we have to convince him that we're doing this in a reasonable and constitutional way.
All right, do you know who Larry Ford is?
Do I know? No.
He's featured in an Orange County Register story on the encampments, and here's his quote. He apparently lives there with his girlfriend, Lisa Weber, and he says he's not leaving, and this is public land, and they can stay here if they want to.
Well, it is public land, but it has a purpose, and the purpose is not for habitation. So he can argue that all he wants, and I'm sure I'm going to hear those arguments in court at some point in time, but he just is flat wrong. And the question is, whose land is this? Is this land for habitation, or is this everybody's land for open space, recreation, and flood?
Oh, I agree. But I think the question, Todd, would be, why didn't you do this like 6 months ago before this thing got so big?
Well, we have been, are you kidding? We have been doing this. We have been out there. They cut the chain link fences. They live on the tributaries. They live under the bridges. And look at our Civic Center here in Santa Ana. Even though we have 400 beds at the courtyard, which is the old bus station, we've got 400 more living in the Plaza of Flags adjacent to the courthouse, which is why Santa Ana just passed an ordinance to clear those people out.
They got to do that. All right, my last question then, Todd, is what happens when you shoo them out of there? Are they going to end up just living on people's streets there around Anaheim and Orange? And
no, what they've got to do is they've got to get with programs. These people have got to look. The severely mentally ill are going to be a difficult audience.
But you said 90% didn't want help, so how are you going to deal with that?
Yeah, but that's the point. When they understand that we're not going to do it their way, and they're going to do it our way, they're either going to get arrested for illegal activity, or they're going to get into programs to help change their life and their behavior.
All right, Todd, thanks for talking to us with that update.
Thank you very much.
Orange County Supervisor Todd Spitzer, with the plan, as you heard it, they're going to clear out those Santa Ana riverbed encampments that run through Fountain Valley and Santa Ana and Orange and Anaheim.
John and Ken Show, KFI. More on the John and Ken Show.